Good afternoon. My name is Doug Guthrie. I'm the President and CEO of the Housing Authority for the City of Los Angeles. Hi, Jenny. And we're really honored to be out here today. I think most of you by now know of Rose Hill. Many of you grew up in this community. These were a public housing site that was built back in the 1940s. And I know about 10 years ago, we started running into issues out here, primarily with termite infestation, and some of the buildings were just unlivable. And I think we felt it was important to go out to the community, to work with the community, and to see what could be done so we could build housing that will be around for another 80 to 100 years. And what you're seeing today will be the first phase of that. Today, we're joined by a number of people here. Lourdes Castro Ramirez. Lourdes, you want to say hello? So Lourdes is Mayor Bass's new Chief of Housing and Homelessness and plays a really important role here in the city, particularly around homelessness issues. And I'll do more of a formal introduction a little bit later for you, Lourdes. And we have with us also today Supervisor Hilda Solis. Our partner, of course, Related Capital, and Bill Whitty. Bill, say hello. And Jason Poo from HUD, the regional administrator of this part of the country on behalf of HUD. I also wanted to acknowledge the president of HACLA Board of Commissioner members. We've got Chairman Cielo Castro here. And also Miss Hooper. We can't miss Miss Hooper. She's on our Board of Commissioners. She's a resident of Nickerson Gardens down in the Watts community. And I think it's really important, as I said, this housing was built 80 years ago. A number of the residents that have been living out here for decades, and they've got second generational families out here. They're part of this community. We need to take a minute to reflect on what this has meant to the community. It's affordable housing. It's an integral part of the city of Los Angeles and this community out here. And that's really important to always remember as we're working on this. HACLA and related companies, with Bill, we started working on this literally 10 years ago. It has been that long, and one of the reasons it takes, there are multiple reasons, hey Sanford, that it takes that long, but a lot of that has to do with our community engagement and working with the residents to overcome fear of displacement, to overcome just the truth in this. We don't want to displace anyone, and I think as you'll hear a little bit later, as people have moved into this building, I believe 80% of the residents came from buildings that have been demolished here out at Rose Hill, and that's our motto. We don't want to do any displacement of anybody to the extent we can do that. And again, it's taken a decade to get to this point, but as you'll see today, and there will be a tour afterwards, by the way, which I think will start right over here, that this will be well worth it. We honor the lives lived at Rose Hill since its conception. We're grateful for the many voices, not just of the residents out here, but also the community. We met John King, who oversees our community engagement, had a lot of public meetings out here, John. You and Daraj Narajan and a lot of our staff working with residents out here, single-family homeowners, other community interests out here, to get them bought into what we're doing, explain it. We had community liaisons working back and forth to make this work. So as you'll see, that's not only new residential buildings, but we've got courtyards, we've got a plethora of community rooms, we've got somebody growing some nice herbs out here. There's a couple good rosemary plants back there, although we could use a little more of a green thumb, to be honest, than what we've seen so far. But we honor our residents here today, and we honor them not just with their perseverance in the new housing that we have. We have what's called a Section 3 program. So we're not just obligated, but it's part of our mission is to provide employment opportunities for those that live in the community. And on this particular development, out of 209 total new hires, 105 are residents of HACLA's buildings. There are that many. And hopefully this leads to not just a one-off construction job, but a long-time profession, especially in the trades that are well-paying. And what I'd like to do right now is introduce, as I say, our first of many speakers, and we're going to start with Hilda Solis. And I've known Hilda pretty much since I moved to Los Angeles 14 years ago. And she's been one of the most outspoken advocates of affordable housing now in her role on the Board of Supervisors. Of course, she was Labor Secretary under President Obama. She's been a member of Congress in the past. She knows all the ups and downs and ins and outs of this, and this is her community out here. This is part of her community. So I'd like to introduce Supervisor Solis.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. And good afternoon and buenos tardes to everybody here. It's good to see you. While I didn't build this, I want to give full credit to HACLA and to the developer related, as well as the city and the mayor and all the outstanding people that have had a hand in this, but most importantly, the residents. I mean, that is a real blessing to see something so beautifully designed. It took a while to get here, but sometimes we have to have patience, right? Paciencia, as my father used to say. And it means a lot that all of you have been committed to that. I want to thank also Lourdes Castro, who's representing Mayor Bass. We've worked on many a project in the last few years. It's always exciting for me to see you because we're tackling affordability for people to be able to come in and afford a place to stay, but also for our unhoused people. We have a big issue that I know the mayor and all of us are tackling, along with the city councilmen here, that we are trying just really spending 24/7 hours trying to figure out how we can get people into a situation where they have a roof over their head. And we can't stop that clock. I also want to thank a good friend of mine that I've known for many years. He was a former city councilman and mayor in Alhambra, and that is Jason Poo, who is now representing HUD, who's one of our great friends and funders for this project. So let's give him a round of applause. Bill Witt, you and I got to know each other working on a joint project with the city and what used to be CRA, building housing and different types of things, retail and entertainment. But now we're here. We're meeting together and helping to expand, I think, the network of affordable housing for our families that are struggling day in and day out. This in particular, the RoseHillsCourts apartments are going to provide 185. That's a big number. You guys got to clap for that. Come on. 185 units, multi-family units for low-income residents in the city of Los Angeles and residents across the county who we know continue to struggle. This, for me, is a shining example of how local jurisdictions should work to preserve and improve affordable housing. We know that so much has impacted our community since the COVID pandemic. And while we're now 4 years out, it still lingers with a lot of our residents, and affordability and renters and everyone is, I hear it everywhere I go. It hasn't stopped, but we must say we're going to help at least provide the assistance to remedy that. And this is one of the ways to do it. I'm really excited about this place because I can already tell it's coming alive. I think people started moving in last year in December or something in December. So I think this is already packed, 185. That's pretty awesome. And I'm sure there's a waiting list for more. And I understand there's going to be more units that are going to be built here. So keep that in mind. What I'm really happy about is that RoseHillsCourts has provided what they have centered on, which is called Central Open Space. And they have a lot called Tot Lot, just for kids. Tot Lot. Say that. Tot Lot. That makes sense. This is for the kids. And also to provide programming and assistance for kids that are 2 to 12 years of age. Outdoor spaces, as you can tell, for social gathering, a vegetable garden, an exercise area, and the best thing for me is there's a park across the street. That's for everybody. And I'm a big person that's very high on parks because I know that some of our areas are park poor. And this is one of the ways to do it. So I'm so happy and delighted this is one of those units that's actually bringing all of that, including our transportation, TOD, and really looking at how we can envision getting people out of their cars, off their scooters, or maybe some scooters, but out biking and walking and being healthy. So with that, I have a presentation I'd like to make very quickly and let the other speakers come forward, because I know we don't have a lot of time. And this one goes obviously to the Housing Authority, to the City of Los Angeles. We are just so proud of you, Doug, and your team. God bless you. I can't believe it's been 14 years, but I believe you. And that's only to say that it takes a village, you guys. Okay.
Thank you so much.
We've got one more, and this is for our good friends, Related. Okay, Related, California. Thank you so much, Bill, for your tenacity and sticking with this for over 10 years and more to come. So give them a big round of applause. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Thank you. Turn it back to you, Doug. Thank you.
Our next speaker we've been referring to is Bill Whitty. Bill is the president and CEO of Related California. You were actually the founder of Related California. Is that right, Bill? Yes, that's what I thought.
It's understated.
Understated, yes. And he founded that 34 years ago. And the Housing Authority started working with Related on a conversion of another public housing development called Normont Terrace about 20 years ago. And that's now Harbor Village, and it's a very large-scale development of affordable rental housing as well as affordable home ownership housing down in the harbor area. And Related has been very active on affordable housing, 4,700 affordable housing, 8,000 market rate units that they've developed in the state of California. And we've worked with Related on a couple of different developments, and we work with them because they're so competent, they're professional. We know how difficult this business is, and we trust each other. We work well together. So with that, Bill, welcome to make some comments.
So Doug embarrassed me again by suggesting how old I really am. I have to say, it's not that common where you get to complain about it being too warm in the middle of winter. But it's nice to see everybody here. So the other thing that I'm particularly blessed by, as Dave alluded to, not that long ago that I had got to share the stage with Hilda and Kevin as we opened our project on Grand Avenue. And that's a completely different project with a certain luxury scale to it. 86 of those units are low income and will always be. And they were both instrumental in that project and this one as well. So it's a great relationship and partnership. Now, Doug alluded to our relationship with the Housing Authority. First project I ever worked on when I had a staff of just me was the first redevelopment of a public housing project on the West Coast in Harbor City. It took a while. We replaced every affordable unit one for one and added 224 condos, now known as Harbor Village in Harbor City. And we own it in partnership with HACLA, actually, Doug, 25 years later. We're here for the long haul, as we are in most of our projects, and we feel very good about that. And we kept working with HACLA. We worked on the redevelopment of the Aliso Village public housing project in Boyle Heights. We just were there with Jason and Kevin at the refinancing of that after 17 years or so, now again in partnership with HACLA. And of course, we're here, and we've had a great relationship. It's kind of defined my career, frankly, our relationship with HACLA. I like to think that this project speaks for itself. I mean, a community garden. I mean, Hilda, I couldn't agree with you more. To have a park across the street, you wish for stuff like that. And it's the first of two phases, and I think, as Doug has said, there's going to be more units in these two phases than were in the original project. I remember in the first days of this, probably 9 years ago, going to meeting with the residents. We had little groups, trying to get input about, design and features and stuff like that. And I was very active then, but, I get to come up here and talk, but it's our team who made this happen. I think most of them are here today. The president of our affordable group, Frank Cardone, Rose Olson, Jennifer Ingaram, Noah Fisher, Alex Runagi. I'm sure I've left others, but left out others. They've done a remarkable job because it's not easy to put all together the financing while at the same time doing what Doug so well said. This is about the residents. You can't treat this as widgets. This isn't just about bricks and mortar. This is about something that is quality, long-term. We hope and expect to be, with HACLA, the owner long-term, and we're managing it. I also want to thank the private sector financiers, Raymond James Company that bought the low-income tax credits, maybe the biggest piece of the financing. U.S. Bank was our lender, as they have been on many projects. Of course, HACLA, Doug's team, Jenny, Daraj, and everybody. We enjoyed our relationship. Of course, Jenny, we worked with on Grand Avenue. I'm dating you a little now, too. So the relationship at all levels has been great. I really look forward to the next event, but I love openings. Groundbreakings are good, but I really like openings, and I think you'll hear more about that shortly. So thank you. I have to say one other thing. I forgot. I am so pleased to see Lourdes here. Lourdes, I don't want to steal Doug's thunder. She was the top housing official of the state. She came back to take a harder job. How many people do that? But I think it shows you, I've worked with every mayor since Tom Bradley. Yes, that's when we started Normont Terrace. And Mayor Bass has taken more initiative along with the officials here to support affordable housing than any mayor I can remember. And it's going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's worth really noting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And speaking of Lourdes, she will be our next speaker, and she's well known by everybody here. And even before she was the chief housing official for Governor Newsom at the state level, and now the chief housing official for the city under Mayor Bass, she cut her teeth at HACLA. So she was a long-term employee of HACLA. She's director of the Section 8 housing program. She's got all of her friends out here in the audience. Half of my staff is here as well. I'd name them all, but that would take a long time. And we're so excited to have her here today and to have her in the role that she's in. She's passionate about this. She's worn different hats. She comes at this from all angles, all sides of the table that she sat on at one time or another. She was the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Public and Indian Housing under Secretary, what was his name again? Castro, yes, also another Castro, Julian Castro. Yeah. But no, she's terrific. We're welcome. Please welcome her to the podium. Lourdes?
Yes, no relationship to Julian Castro, but he was secretary under President Obama, and it was such an honor to serve with him. And it's so exciting to be here, to look out in the audience and to see so many people that I had an opportunity to work with when I started years ago with HACLA. Mrs. Hooper, so great to see you, a leader for public housing communities, a leader in LA. And Doug, thank you for the invitation on behalf of Mayor Bass, who I now have the deep honor to serve. She commends this entire community, commends HACLA and the extensive partnerships that you all have developed to make today possible. Supervisor Solis, it's good to be back in Los Angeles. And I so admire and respect and appreciate the locking arms and the partnership with the city. Of course, Jason Poo, thank you for your leadership and support. As Bill mentioned, Mayor Bass has been moving with a sense of urgency to address the issue of homelessness that is affecting our city. And by also, of course, expanding affordable housing opportunities across our city. And the federal government has really stepped up in a big way, both with funding support, but also providing greater flexibility and waivers that enable HACLA and a number of other entities to speed up the process of connecting people that are unhoused into housing. Also, council member, thank you for your leadership. And the council member leaned over and asked if I had an opportunity to serve at the state when he was there. And we didn't have an opportunity to serve together, but I did spend the last 3.5 years working for Governor Newsom. And one of the funding sources that is supporting this development in this community is coming directly from the Strategic Growth Council, from the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Grant, which I had the honor of serving on that council. And then finally, just, Bill, you're absolutely right. This is probably going to be the toughest job that I have had in my life. And the reason why it's tough is because when you feel something so close to your heart, right? And when you're tackling an issue that has been decades in the making, it does put your skill set and your commitment and your ability to bring people together to the test. But we have the right leader in Mayor Karen Bass, and she's taking this issue on head on from day one by declaring a state of emergency to address homelessness and by implementing a number of executive directives to ensure that we're continuing to move with speed to build more units, to build more housing that's affordable. Mayor Bass and the Housing and Homelessness Solutions team, and we have a couple of members from our team here, if you'll wave. Of course, our Deputy Mayor, Jenna Hornstock, couldn't join us today, but we are all working in lockstep with a number of partners to ensure that we're building more communities like the RoseHillsCourts community. I will also just share that as was mentioned, I'm relatively new in this role. And I can't take credit for the tremendous progress and achievements that the mayor has led. But in year one of her administration, 21,000 people were able to move off the streets and into interim housing because of that level of collaboration and partnerships. And in addition to that, under her first executive directive number 1, over 10,000 units of housing have benefited from that executive director and are moving very quickly through the process to receive a permit and to begin construction. So building more units, as was mentioned, of housing that's affordable. And then finally, the Insight Safe initiative that was launched also about a year ago, it's a very comprehensive encampment resolution program that is designed to work with people that have been living in encampments for many years and move into interim housing with a level of support, with a level of access to health, behavioral health, and case management. Over 2,000 people have been also have benefited from that program, and we're looking to continue to scale. The final word that I will mention, because I too went off script, council member, the final word that I will mention is I started the work in housing as a community planner and a community organizer, very much focused on bringing people to the table and building programs and building housing from the perspective of the people that we're serving. And that's fundamental to the Housing Authority. This is how HACLA does its work. It brings people that are going to be affected by the housing or the programs that are being built, and begins from a point of asking residents, what do you envision for yourself? How can you be part of this process? How do we co-create the communities and the future that we both want to see for not only for our families and our communities, but for our city. So I commend every single resident that is here today witnessing this momentous occasion. And I commend you all for being at the table, for being part of HACLA's present and future, because without your participation, these projects would not be possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Lourdes. Thank you, Governor Newsom, for allowing us to steal her from you for the city of Los Angeles. Our next speaker is Jason Poo. Now, I've got to tell you, I've been in this business a long time, and so I've had a lot of interaction with HUD at numerous levels in numerous parts of the country. But our local HUD office has been so terrific to work with. They're always there, they're understanding, they help us work through issues and problems with HUD. And Jason is really the leader of that as a regional administrator. I've known many regional administrators, none quite as hands-on as Jason, and the good work that he does. So Jason, thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's definitely a pleasure to be with you all here this afternoon. I want to thank all the local partners that are represented here, and the shout outs, the collaboration and alignment that's happening here in Los Angeles. I do think it's a new day, and together I know we can make a lot of progress together. And as the HUD Regional Administrator, I'm representing the federal government here, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. It is an honor to serve in this role as part of the Biden-Harris administration, and also a pleasure to serve under the leadership of HUD Secretary Marcia L. Fudge. There's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said. I just have a long list of folks to recognize and to thank. I want to start with my colleagues here at HUD who are here from public housing. Marcy Vega, Courtney, Bill, and Alicia. Without their work, with HACLA as part of their portfolio, the 183 total project-based vouchers, which HACLA is putting into this project, that wouldn't be possible. They help to expedite and iron out all the wrinkles in the process. So thank you guys for your hard work every single day. I've learned that many of our employees are former residents of public housing, just projects just like this or projects just like those over there, and have worked in housing authorities to help house people, safely, decently, and affordably, and then to, be able to help create projects like this. Definitely big shout out to the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, to Doug, Carlos, Jenny, John, all the great people I've had the pleasure of working with. As a former mayor and council member, I absolutely will say over and over and over again, the local level is where it's at. The hard work that people do at the local level is where implementation truly happens. It's where rubber meets the road. And I think that, the work that you all do every single day also deserves a lot of recognition and appreciation. So thank you. Actually, let's give them a big round of applause. Because they're not only helping to preserve and protect public housing and affordable housing, but also to increase the supply of affordable housing, as we're seeing here with this project. And the fact that they also work hard to build community around these projects as well, whether there's open space, whether there's bus lines coming in to make it more accessible and more transit oriented, and the other features and amenities that are here for the community. Of course, the county and the city are partners in all of this. But before I just say a few words about the federal roles, government, and where we're heading, I also just want to thank and recognize the residents, because I think it's the residents the reason that we do any of this work at all. All of you who are here, gathered here today, who have lived through the process and been able to see the transformation, the revitalization. Hopefully this will be an investment in the community that will benefit all of you and the surrounding community here for decades to come. So for our part, I think that a lot has been said already about how, HUD helps to put resources, funding into projects like this. But on a larger scale, I think, what we're really working on and continue to work on is helping to make federal, state, and local resources work more seamlessly together to address our affordable housing and homelessness crises. And these still go hand in hand. We cannot address homelessness without also increasing affordable housing. I think that being able to get that kind of alignment at every level of government, whether it be our regulations and our statutes or just our programs, is really key, because if you have local partners like HACLA, like the city, and Chief Castro Ramirez and Mayor Bass and the county, jumping from one foot to the other, trying to satisfy 8 different sets of regulations, it makes it very, very difficult, and it makes it very time-consuming and ultimately sometimes unfeasible. So definitely, want to make sure that federal, state, and local resources are working together so that we can make more progress. I want to thank HACLA and their staff again for the work that they put into this project and for leaning in on the homelessness work. Oh, but I'm remiss in not also recognizing Bill Whitty and Related. Without private partners like this and public-private partnerships, these projects also would not be possible. So it takes, when they say it takes a village, it takes even more than that. I mean, it takes everybody working together, locking arms, hand in hand, and I'm really, really pleased and happy to be able to be here to celebrate this occasion with you. And again, shout out to our public housing staff. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jason. We've been talking a lot about the residents of Rose Hill Courts. Many of them have been here for a long time. They've raised families here and different generations. We go about this sort of work with what we call community coaches. This is a program that was designed by John King. It's actually gotten the attention of Secretary Fudge. We made a presentation to the Secretary's office just last week on this as a national model on how to engage the community to get community buy-in. So we're very excited about it. And the next speaker we have is perfect to describe all this. Maria Flores. She's been a resident of Rose Hill Courts, and she's now an active community coach. And so she knows firsthand how this process works and how the communication flows. So we're very happy to have you here today and to say a few words, Maria.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María, soy community coach de Rose Hill. Yo he estado viviendo ya aquí por 7 meses. He estado muy cómoda y agradecida.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria. Okay. Porque mucho no hablan.
Okay.
Empecemos.
Okay. Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es María.
My name is Maria.
Yo soy community coach de
I'm a
Rose Hill.
community coach from Rose Hill.
He estado viviendo aquí por 7 meses.
I've been living here for 7 months.
Me estoy viviendo muy cómodamente y
I'm living
agradecida
here, very comfortable and very grateful
con la unidad que nos dieron.
with the unit that I was given.
Yo he vivido en la comunidad de Rose Hill
I have lived in
por
the
20
Rose Hill
años
community for 20 years.
y estamos muy felices con este proyecto
We're very happy with this project.
y todo lo que nos prometieron se ha cumplido.
And everything that it was promised to us is been,
Se ha cumplido todo.
yeah, you have done it.
Aquí hay personas que tienen viviendo más de 30 años, 40, 45
There are people here living more than 30 years, 40, 45 years.
y ahorita todas ya estamos en nuestros nuevos apartamentos.
And all of us are in our new apartments.
Yo he vivido el proyecto desde que comenzó, desde que se hizo la inauguración
I have
Y-
lived in projects since we started, since the inauguration.
y hasta ahorita hemos estado viendo todos los resultados que hemos tenido, muy buenos, por
And
cierto.
up to now, I've been seeing all the good results that we're having.
Los invitamos a que vean nuestros apartamentos.
I invite you to come over and see our apartments.
Yo A mí me gusta mucho ayudar a la comunidad.
I love and I like very much to help my
He sido
community.
community coach por varios años
I've been a community coach for several years,
y espero seguir haciéndolo
and I'm hoping to continue
porque me gusta ayudar a la comunidad.
because I like to help the community.
Y esperamos que ustedes también nos sigan apoyando
And we hope that you also continue to
con
support us
recursos para las personas que no tienen, que somos de bajos recursos.
with resources for the people like us that we don't have and we're low income.
Y estamos muy agradecidos con todo lo que han hecho por nosotros
We're very grateful for everything you have done for us.
y esperamos que sigan ayudando a más personas que en realidad lo ocupan.
And I hope that you continue to help so many others that in reality they need the help.
Y muchas gracias por todo lo que han hecho
And thank you so much for
Eh,
everything you've done.
y esperamos seguir ayudando a nuestra comunidad.
And we hope to continue to help our community.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much for those wonderful comments. We're under somewhat of a time crunch here. We've got one speaker left, but before I introduce her, would the HACLA staff please put up their hands? I can't name them all because there are too many of them here. Look at this. This is much of our leadership at HACLA, many of which have worked on this project. One special guest, Sanford Riggs. Sanford? Sanford's is a past employee at HACLA that oversaw RoseHillsCourts and housing services for many years. We're happy to have you visiting, Sanford. Thanks for being here. Our next and final speaker is Cielo Castro. Now, I believe Cielo has a full-time job that pays her something. But it feels like her full-time job has been chair of the HACLA Board of Commissioners. It's a lot of work. She's been doing it for a number of years on a voluntary basis. She's been terrific to work with. And as you can see, being out here today, she comes to many of these events, much of it on her own time. And she goes out in the community a lot. So we're very fortunate to have that sort of leadership with our Board of Commissioners. And Cielo, we'd love to have you say a few words.
So I know it's hot. I know our speakers are feeling the January sunshine up here and the folks in the back too, so I will be brief. Buenas tardes, soy Cielo Castro, soy la jefa de la mesa directiva de la Autoridad de Viviendas de la Ciudad de Los Ángeles. Tuve que practicar eso porque mi español es un poco rusty, pero estoy muy feliz de estar con ustedes celebrando esta comunidad de vivienda pública y vamos a ver que es una vivienda de calidad y por eso tengo mucho orgullo de estar con ustedes. I've been on the HACLA Commission for a number of years. The last year has felt extra. I agree with Doug. But here at RoseHillsCourts today, we're celebrating, I think, really the fruition of work that's been going on. I think we mentioned over 14 years for John. But I was here in June of 2021 when we did the groundbreaking, and I think it's a real testament to our commitment to the vision plan of the Housing Authority, which is focused on people, pathways, and place, and what a place we are in today. We are also building hope, and I hope that that's something that the HACLA team remembers every day, that we're focused on building housing, opportunity, investing in our people, and investing in excellence. I want to thank our lead staff on this project, starting with our community engagement team, our financing team. I know Daraj has put in a tremendous amount of work into this project, along with Jeff and Jenny. Our Section 3 and Workforce Development teams, our Section 8 teams. I know across the Housing Authority, many people have played a part in bringing this project to life. Of course, we've acknowledged our partners at the federal, state, county, and in the private sector. I think we take a lot of pride in being a model of what public-private partnership can look like in real life, and here we are. Finally, I want to take a moment of privilege to acknowledge some of my sheroes in the room, starting with our Chief of Housing and Homelessness, who was cabinet level assistant secretary, who left a job at the state, being a secretary, to doing work. I cannot tell you the amount of time that Lourdes is putting into the job, but believe me that it is a lot. Supervisor Hilda Solis, of course, and her leadership in the county, but also the HUD regional administrator here, public housing director, Marcy Vega, who, when I was in the HUD field office here, provided me a lot of coaching and counsel as I grew in my career. So thank you very much to the three of you for your exceptional leadership. And while Doug has been up at this podium, I want to acknowledge that he is a smart man and is surrounded by three phenomenal chiefs. That's Marlene, Jenny, and Margarita. I'm not sure if you're here. So while I'm acknowledging my heroes on stage and in the audience, I want to make sure I acknowledge you and your tremendous leadership. With that, on to the ribbon cutting.